kids. Today we have a special treat for you. Today, Miss Cynthia is going to tell you the story of the prophet Jeremiah. Let's watch.
Hi guys, it's Miss Cynthia. Boy, have I missed you guys. But I'm here today. Mr. Kevin has asked me to come and help tell a story. So I'm going to tell you a little story. This is in the Old Testament, which is before Jesus' birth. And it's a story about a puppet. So what do we know about a puppet? Well, it does exactly what the hand that controls it tells it to do. This puppet can talk with me or not, according to what I decide. This puppet can be in this room. He can go to work with me. He can go anywhere I want. But the thing of it is he has to do what I want him to do. Now, what would happen if a puppet decided that he wasn't going to do what the puppet master wants him to do? That's going to happen today. Now, common sense would tell you if you are a puppet, which you are, and you don't want to do what your puppet master tells you to do, which he did, what's going to happen? So, that's the story today. Again, it started in the Old Testament. And so what happened was Jeremiah was a prophet, and he and other prophets kept telling Judah and Jerusalem, if you guys don't listen to God, things are going to get really rough. And so Babylon, of course they didn't listen, never do. And so Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, he attacked and conquered Judah and Jerusalem. And he took tens of thousands of folks out. The princes, the people who were in control of things, the officials, he took all them out and took them in captive back. So he just left the least skilled people there. Because really when you take all the control people, all the princes, all the officials, all the leaders out, you leave folks who will just kind of hang out and not really ruffle anyone's feathers. So that's exactly what he did. He left them. Well, then here comes our puppet. So Nebuchadnezzar is the puppet master, and he tells this 21-year-old guy, 21 years old, you're going to control Judah and Jerusalem, but you're going to be my puppet. Well, at 21, who wouldn't want to be in control of a lot of stuff and be like a puppet king? So he was the puppet king. And at 21, he had all the responsibilities of collecting the taxes from the crops and from all the businesses to be paid to the Babylonians. Now, all of that, see, the Babylonians would take most of the money made in the cities and the towns of Judah and Jerusalem. And the puppet master was in charge of getting that for them. His name was Zedekiah, or Zedekiah, I don't know. I think it's Zedekiah. So anyway, he was Zedekiah, 21 years old. And so in his 9th year of doing that, Jeremiah keeps telling him over and over, you've got to listen to God. Unless you repent, the temple's going to be destroyed. Because although a lot of people were taken in captive, the temple was still there. But he wouldn't listen. Zedekiah, the puppet of Nebuchadnezzar, wouldn't listen to Jeremiah, who was a prophet of God. And against his advice, he rebelled against the Babylonians. Nebuchadnezzar's the puppet master, and he rebelled against them, even though Jeremiah said, this is not a good idea. And Baruch and others said, this is not a good idea. So he rebelled against them and made the Pharaoh of Egypt an alliance with him. Well, don't forget, the puppet has the puppet master is in control. So the puppet says, I don't want to listen to you. What happens to a puppet when no one's hand's in it? Just bloop. So Nebuchadnezzar responded by invading Judah and Jerusalem in December. Now, during the siege, it lasted 30 months. So 30 months. We have had the pandemic for March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. Can you imagine 30 months being invaded? Kind of like the same way of having a pandemic. You can't quite do what you want to do. You can't go and eat what you want to eat. You're kind of being invaded. So that's what it was. And in fact, the people in the city started to starve and they suffered. We're not starving, but we do understand not being able to go out and do things like we're normally able to do. So if you could imagine, in Jerusalem, folks could not leave the city, and there's an army out there. So as bad as we think we have it, you got to face it, it was worse for them right now. So 30 months, we're in 7. So 30 times 5 is 35. So almost 4 and a little bit more times as many times over and over of what we've gone through. Well, the Egyptians came to rescue them. They marched because they said, you've decided to be our friend, so we're going to rescue you. But they were defeated by the Babylonians. And the Babylonians surrounded Jerusalem and warned those remaining, they will die by the sword and starve or disease. But anyone who surrendered to the Babylonians would live. So you're either going to sit in there and all get sick, all die of disease, or all die of the sword. So the city of Jerusalem would surely be captured by the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. So, as a result, Jeremiah, Zedekiah, still not listening, and puts Jeremiah in prison. And 4 of the top officials who had always opposed the prophet wanted him killed. So they got permission to deal with Jeremiah as they wanted, and they took him out to the city wall and lowered him by ropes into an empty cistern in the prison yard. That's like an empty well. But if the well has been a well, but now it's empty, at the bottom of it is mucky muck, like oozy, gross mucky muck, because it's still really moist down there. So when they lowered him down in there, there was a thick bunch of that mucky muck on the bottom, and Jeremiah just sank down into it. So now he's at the bottom of a dried up well, except it's not dried up, it's mucky muck at the bottom, and he's up to he's really just holding on, wanting to hold on. So when an Ethiopian, an important palace official, heard that Jeremiah was out in that cistern, he rushed out to the gate of Benjamin, where King Zedekiah was holding court. These men have done a very evil thing by putting Jeremiah in the cistern. He will die of hunger, and almost all of the bread in the city is gone anyway. Zedekiah relented and told him to take 30 men and pull Jeremiah out before he died. So he told the Ethiopian, you go and get him out. So take these 30 men, you'll have to get him out. Why did it take 30 men? Well, because he's in the mucky muck, and you can't just pull people out of the mucky muck easily. It was going to take something to get him back out of that well. It's not just throw a rope down and he'll climb up. You had to, like, get him out of that ooze. So it's working against getting him out. Use these rags under your armpits to protect them for the ropes. And he was pulled out by a bunch of ropes and 30 men working together and returned to the prison. But God told Jeremiah that Ethiopian who helped would be delivered when the city fell. So because he helped Jeremiah, when the city falls, he's going to be spared. The city's going to fall. The puppet did not listen to God, nor did he obey his puppet master. Sometime later, King Zedekiah secretly sent to Jeremiah to see what the future held. Jeremiah declared, Almighty God says, if you will surrender to Babylon, you and your family shall live, and the city will not be burned. If you refuse to surrender, this city shall be set afire by the Babylonian army, and you will not escape. Zedekiah listened, but once again ignored God's advice. Jeremiah confined to the prison yard until the day Jerusalem was captured. Finally, the Babylonians knocked down a section of the wall. That night, Zedekiah and his soldiers escaped from the city and slipped through the enemy lines in the darkness. But they were discovered as they raced toward the Jordan Valley. The Babylonians captured Zedekiah near Jericho. All of his soldiers deserted him and ran away. The Babylonians entered Jerusalem. They burned down the temple of the Lord, just as Jeremiah had warned. They looted the temple and carried off the gold and the silver objects and the things made of bronze. They raided and burned the palace and other fine houses. It was a devastation. The people of Jerusalem who were still alive were made captives and taken back to Babylon. Only the very poor were left behind to work the fields and vineyards. Jeremiah, however, was released and given food and money by the Babylonians. The Ethiopian who helped get Jeremiah out of the cistern escaped the city just as God said. It was his reward for trusting the Lord. Jerusalem and the temple lay in ruins. The people of Judah were taken in exile. The warnings God had given them through Jeremiah and other prophets had all come true. The Lord had punished his people for their sins. So that's a kind of a hard story. It's a good one for us to read right now because, again, we understand not being able to move around, being under siege. So it's easy to understand where the people of Judah and Jerusalem were in this time. Sure, they felt trapped in Jerusalem and starving. And they had a leader that was a puppet. And not even a good puppet. He would not listen to God, and he forgot who was controlling him, Nebuchadnezzar. And so he just put the people in a really bad place. So that's today's story. It's easy to really understand how those people who were caught in all that felt. So I hope that you're having a great time. Know that miss you terribly. But it's good for us to all be safe, and right now it's a hard thing to do, is to be safe. I hope that you're having a great time in whatever kind of school you're having. Try your best to learn the most you can, regardless of how you're having to learn it right now, whether it's online or going half to school, half online. Just try your best to grasp this moment in time and just do your best, and know that it will be there for you when all this is over. The knowledge and the understanding and the wisdom you get now, it'll be there long after we've forgotten a lot of the pandemic. Know we love you, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day, and